I hope you could feel that on your end. Wow, that's some soul right there. We need that, don't we? We need that walk the streets of love type feeling. So how's everyone doing? Everybody's so happy that you were able to jump on this morning. I hope I'm speaking loud enough. This is my first time. I'm actually in a public library right now, which is so sweet. I mean, it's so sweet. I really haven't been in a library, to actually, maybe it might be 20, 30 years. But to feel that old library feel with the kids running around and the books, they're making projects out here. Anyway, it's just good to be here and good to know that we still have some free space where we can express ourselves, right, in a public domain. So I haven't been on for 6 months, about 6 months, and I want to thank Brother Forrest Nance. I'm not sure if he's on the line right now for inviting me back on the show. I swore I wouldn't do any more podcasts because I said, nah, this is, I can't, it's not me. I can't do it anymore. I have to just do my thing and keep it real in my way. Well, I've realized this is now 2 hurricanes later. I'll tell you about those in a second. And I realized that this is an important part of me because an important part of me has to be in this world, engaging what's going on. And we need change, right? And if I could be an agent of change at all, now is the time to do it. So I'm just getting over a 7-day flu, 7 or 8 day flu. I have my toilet paper here next to me, so in case I blow up all over the place, you know what I'm doing. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a lot stronger today. And so anyway, the 2 hurricanes I was talking about, and most of you know, Hurricane Helene came through here in Asheville about September 27th, 28th, and it was just, it was a whirlwind. It was a whole chaotic uplifting of life, period. When all of a sudden, and I don't know who's ever experienced this, all of a sudden you're looking around as to where to get power, where to get water, where to get food, and most importantly, you're interacting with people around you, your neighbors, in a way that is purely authentic and in a way that's purely in the moment, which really doesn't happen as much as we know it used to. And that was a powerful thing, about that Helene that came through. And of course, despite all the thrashing and through the beautiful piece of country that this is here and all the damage that was done, Helene created a great shift inside of me and realizing a lot about life and what we have and being grateful and all of that. Now, this past hurricane was more of an internal hurricane that I've had for the last week. And I don't want to, pour pity on myself here in the first part of the show, but just letting you know some of the catalysts of what's been going on and why I've been away and why I'm now kind of reborn. This is a new day for me, really, today. It's also Mom's birthday. I'm going to give her a shout out to 79-year-old mother back home in Pittsburgh, and she's living it up today. I know she was feeling good. We sent her the Age of Aquarius video this morning, and want to give her a shout out. But anyway, today is a new day, especially for me. I hope all of you are doing your best to get through these challenging times. And my last point about the hurricanes is that this flu that I've had was a very difficult one, and especially for me because I have some autoimmune responses I've had since a child. And I really when I get that infection, the upper respiratory sinus infection, I get it bad in the ears. So even now I can hear about 50% of my normal rate. And the pain is just excruciating. I've had ear pains all of my life, and it's just been part of my story. But afterwards, there's been such a shift here, and such the survival nature of it. When you're up at night and you're wondering if it's all worth it. Is it worth it? And you come back to those special internal areas inside of you, those memories that are in you that go even beyond this life, and those reminders and they awaken inside of you, and they've been dormant for a long time. And when they awaken inside of you, they remind you, they inspire you, they bring you the energy of life that you maybe we're looking for, maybe that spark that you need to get into this new phase of life that's coming. And I feel like maybe that could be on the horizon for me and hopefully many of you, and that's why you're on the show today. So let's start with gratitude. Thanks a million for jumping on today. We're going to make this is going to be a good time, and it's going to be well worth it. Number one, I am not going to bitch about Donald Trump. That's my rule for myself. And I'll tell you why. Because he is a character playing his role, just like I'm a character playing my role. She's a character playing her role. And I dreamt about him all week. And can you imagine dreaming about Donald Trump 3-4 nights in a row? And then I saw a guy this morning walking down the street with his dog, and he looked just like Elon Musk. I had to look twice. And I said, you've been watching the news too much. That's your problem. So I'm not going to overdo it with this political thing, although politics will be intertwined with the things that we talk about, obviously. But I'm not going to complain about that man. And let him into our energy periphery here, okay? Number two, I'm going to encourage your voice. I want to hear, just looking at the people that I know that are on the show today, we have amazing teachers from North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We have naturopathic doctors. We have innovators and others I know from the last show that used to listen in. People that are existing and living on amazing frequencies. And so I want to hear from you all. Today's big question is going to be about how we fix the broken education system. So I know that you have some things to say about that. But continuously, it's going to not be all me up here dictating, what is and what isn't. I'm not the fact man. I'm the facilitator in a lot of ways. So my third rule for myself will be we have to meditate at least a minute or two every session, because I want to remind you all out there how important it is to do this on a daily basis. So we have to take the time and create that discipline for ourselves, because one thing I've learned, everybody, that bridge that connects you with that ideal self, that person you want to be, is discipline. So we have to do it even in our eldership, to show young people what it is. We can't discipline them anymore, right? So let's show them our own discipline. That's one of my views, So meditation, every session, we're going to try to be stringent about that. So speaking of starting fresh, this show is going to be technically called Biosophy Online. And I can talk a little bit about that word and where it's coming from, but it's kind of my new take on everything. And I'm going to eventually probably launch a company, and everything's going to be based on systems. I'm seeing the world, I'm seeing the internal parts of us, I'm seeing society, I'm seeing work, education, health, all related as systematic processes. And each system is related to every other system. All right, but they're not in a vacuum. Nothing exists in a vacuum, just like we don't exist in a vacuum. The healthcare industry doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? The economy doesn't. They're all intertwined and they're all connected. And I'm realizing that those systems that we are comprised of, such as our nervous system, our lymphatic system, are in fact connected to those systems that surround us in society, right? So our immune system is connected to our education system. And we're going to talk about some of those links, hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well. By the way, I'm on here every other Saturday morning, not every week, but every other Saturday. And today, let's start out with our question, which I mentioned earlier. We're going to focus primarily on two topics, okay? And just to give you a reference point before we get into the question: wellness and education. Okay, pure and simple. Now, all of that is within society. There's spirituality. There's a lot going on there that could link the two. But my focus is going to be on wellness and education. My main mission and goal these days is to fuse more wellness into the lives of teachers to give them the support they need for their students. That's the education part of it. We're going to be talking about learning and school systems a little bit on here as well. And as it relates to our own wellness, our own individual wellness, our own social emotional wellness. So just to give you a framework, that's where we're going to go with this show. Obviously, everybody, we're living in heightened political times. I mean, we can't deny that. And I think even myself, I'm guilty of sidestepping and kind of tiptoeing through the tulips of staying out of politics because it's a pile of tricks. And there's no solution, there's no answers, there's no right or wrong. But at the end of the day, we have to grapple a little bit with that animal. We have to grapple with that beast because it is connected to our everyday dealings. As a longtime educator and a naturopath, I have a lot of thoughts about the schools and what's going on with our health and what's going on with our teachers, our students, and these sorts of things. But I want to hear from you. Let's take a moment first before we get started and do some breathing. Let's do our little meditation for today. I woke up and did this first thing, and I said, I have to do this on the show today. What I'd like you to do is just wherever you are, take that first conscious breath of the day, bring it in from the nose, close the mouth, and then breathe out naturally. Take another one, slow it down, bring it down to the belly, and breathe it out. Go ahead again as you become more aware of the breath. You're realizing that you can bring it further down to the belly. And get to that point maybe where you can't even hear the breath. You're just allowing it to flow slowly and deeply, rhythmically. Allow it to bring you to that place of the infinite, that place of knowing, that place where there is no doubt, there's no fear, there's no illusion, there's only truth. For the breath is one of the truths that we have at our disposal. Develop that relationship with the breath by becoming more and more conscious of it. Become aware of what it does to the body as you become conscious of it. Can you allow it to detect any imbalance in the body, any place that needs attention? Go ahead and breathe consciousness into that area. If there's nothing, then just let the breath align you with your center. Picture that spine straight, going straight up to the heavens and going down straight into the center of the earth like the North and South Pole. You are naturally aligned with heaven and earth. You are made of heaven and earth. And so is your brother and sister. Give thanks, everybody, for having that moment with me. Continue your own meditation. I urge you, this is really the way that we're going to make it through. So I am going to gift you a couple of deliverables today. That is some things you could take with you that are some results of quite a few hours of research and doings on my end, but I have some special treats for you at the end. But first, let's get into education a little bit. Let's kind of tap the toe into the river here. And let me throw the question out there to all of you, if anybody would like to jump in. Really, when you look at the school system today, and I know that maybe you haven't had the most diverse experience, but maybe your own local school system or what you see on TV, but what do you see as far as the problem with our schools today, something that we could maybe address immediately and see some change. Does anyone have any ideas where they would like to start with that? Of course, you're not right or wrong, but we'd love to just get a little conversation going. Anybody? I'm going to try to unmute. Okay, yeah, we're good. This is like if I asked this at a teacher's meeting, this is what you'd hear, probably nothing, right? Although everyone has something to say.
May I be heard?
Yes, how you doing, Sandy? Good, good.
I'm very good. Yes, that's a very good question. What I would like to have the school system bring back is I would like for them to bring home economics and also shop, because those two things actually help me become a better, I guess, mom, most of all, better wife in terms of learning how to cook, learning how to sew, learning how to, just handle the kitchen per se. And I think that was very necessary, because I think the women today, they don't really know how to do all those things. Like, we had to make our gowns for our graduation. So I know how to lay, I know how to sew a button on my husband's. If something comes off his shirt, I can get immediately and do those things, And it seems like it's in the hands of these cleaners and things of that nature. They move that out of our, for the children. And I think they need those skills back, because they're very, very necessary. We shouldn't have to depend on someone else to cook or clean for us. We should be doing it ourselves. And especially with the men with the shop, I know my brothers, they all made lamps for my mom. They had made Happy Mother's Day lamp.
Could you share your name one time for everybody?
Susie.
Susie, that's right, Susie. I can't. As soon as you said shop and you started talking about those experiences, that hit me right in the heart. I could not agree with you more. And you bring up some wonderful points. We had wood shop, when I was in high school. We did all those things. We even did sewing, when I was in middle school. Worked on the machines, and it's not there anymore. It's gone. The kids know nothing about it. They don't work with their hands on these things. Now there's some parts of CTE training, but for the most part, it's all computers and it's all digital. Nothing like we had, wood shop. I mean, we'd be in there with a whole assortment of tools, learning how to work with wood and with metal. We used to make all kinds of things. I don't want to say some of the things, but a lot of them were gifts. They ended up being gifts for people, and you could express your creativity through your hands. And what has happened to the value of working with the hands? How does that change when we look at what we do today? How we access information, or how we communicate? How much of it is with our hands? And yeah, it's a tremendous point. I can go on about it, but thanks for sharing so much, Susie. Anybody else? You can even comment about that.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Come on.
Peace, Eric. How you doing, brother?
Hey, peace, Chike. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got two kids over here, and
Yes,
so I heard you, and I know what you mean. You asked a question, and people are just like crickets. You're just like, come on, y'all. But I just wanted to piggyback on. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's like he knows I'm on the phone, so he's like, "Oh, now's my chance. Here's the mic."
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So no, piggybacking. I think it was Susie. Okay. Peace is too. But no, I was saying piggybacking off that, hands-on. One thing I'm a big advocate of is project-based learning. So I think everything should be project-based learning these days. I think schools are too focused on content as far as students actually, what do they know? I think it's more important, how can they apply it, right? So, a lot of times we talk about not having technology in schools and stuff like that, their cell phones. Even personal computers, at least in my school, is not it's not allowed. But while I understand those things can be distractions, things like that, a lot of stuff you can Google in a few seconds, or even Chat GPT in a few seconds and get the answer. So I just don't think it's important for people to know stuff. I think it's more important for what they can do with it. And I think that's where project-based learning comes in, and that's where it makes the learning more hands-on and more relevant for them. I was reading something one time. They were saying that, we're beyond the information age now, and we're into the conceptual age, in the sense that, it's not just about having information, because information at your fingertips is more so, what concepts do you believe in and how can you express that through, the project, through your creativity, through analyzing and applying it, So to me, that'll be one of the main ways I think schools, I have a lot of different ideas why schools can get better, but that's one of the main ways is, really making sure that the education is relevant to the students, and that they can actually apply the knowledge that they have, and not just teach to the test. They need to teach to the skill.
Chike, it's a great point, and everybody, Chike is going to be on the show in about 2 weeks. We're going to have a discussion on AI in the classroom, which he has a lot going on and a lot of awareness about as well. And I appreciate you chiming in on that. With the project-based learning, I think we could all agree that, boy, what we present with the kids today, more so than ever, has to be meaningful. It has to be applicable to their life. And who's to say that we can't just grade them on projects instead of these terrible standardized tests, that they give? And I'm going to try not to be judgmental, but the project-based learning is something that is really important, and I think it's a great point. It has to be something that is applicable in their world, and something that they can work through and see a process, a beginning and a finish of it, So it's a great point. Thanks, Chief.
Can I add a quick note to that? So first, and thank you, for your feedback on that. But an example of that, someone broke it down to me one time. I thought it was a great example. It's like, when you, when let's say like my son, my youngest child is 4, right? So if I want him to learn to play football, I don't give him a book to go and read about the history of football.
Right.
He goes out there and starts to learn through the process, the project of, becoming to play football, and learns, and he watches by observation. He goes through it himself. He goes through the process of doing it, and through that process, that's what he's learning, and that's when he figures out more relevant skills that he needs to get better at playing football. Then later on, yes, you can still introduce him to the history of football and important players and all this and all that, but it's like it's the experience of the learning process, that's what's more important, not necessarily just saying that, hey, he knows. I remember one lesson they were asking, the lesson on emails, and they were saying the students should know who sent the first email. I'm like, how many adults know that? It's just like a random thing you want people to know just because to say that, But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's tremendous. I mean, it's a pointless fact if you know that.
Yes, a pointless fact. There you go. Yeah.
And I mean, it's great for that person, but it's all ego at the end of the day.
Exactly.
What have you learned for yourself? I mean, the football example is tremendous, and it really illuminates what you're trying to say here. And for this older generation, Chike, we have to realize that they don't know, folks like my parents and maybe some of the other people on the line, they don't realize that these kids aren't learning to do things by doing them anymore. They're learning through YouTube. They're watching YouTube videos, and then they're saying, well, I know how to do this now because I watched 10 videos on it. Martial arts or this, that, the other thing, light a fire in the woods. And they're just not able to work through those things as much as we did when we were growing up. But a small project-based curriculum that allowed them to get back and do those things. Yes, it's a great point. Anybody else out there? Maybe some of you may think that there's no failure in the school systems at all. It's quite true, maybe in some ways. You know, Chike brings up the project-based learning. We have charter schools, we have Waldorf schools and other alternative programs all around this country, which are a great advantage that we have here. Of course, they're all socioeconomically stratified, and that is that who's in those schools? Well, the wealthy white elite for the most part, or you know, whatever group you want to ascribe it to. So we have these type of schools that think this way and that have been doing that for years. But who has access to those education systems, right? And so when we look at public education and the ills and the tragedies that is starting to, I'd say, surface along with many other institutions, you know, what is it that at this point that needs to change, and that might be one of them. From my perspective, I'm going to focus on mental health. I'm going to focus on mental health of teachers and therefore mental health of students. So I think that would be one way through that system, through a wellness, healthcare type system. That would be one way that I'd like to contribute through the show. But there are certainly so many, you know, and right now, I mean, we have obviously the Department of Education could be cut at any point with this regime that we have in place right now. So this is a fundamental question that we might be forced to really think about. So many lethal weapons or so many vicious aspects. Let me rephrase that. Let me start over. There are so many challenges when we talk about what's going on in our schools. Our schools are the microcosm of everything that's happening in the world, in our society, in our homes, right? So if we go in, I know sometimes I'll come across people that they want to criticize teachers, the teachers of today. Oh, the teachers don't do this. They have this, but they don't do that. Some people want to criticize the students. The students are spoiled. They have all this technology, but they don't have respect. Or we could go to a lot of different entities and blame a group that is within that system. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that they're all connected. And the foundation for all of it is, of course, in the home. And what has the home become? Well, just about everything, right? Just about everything. How can you address the home? You can't change the home through policy and not even through education as much anymore. But where do we start, right? Do we pay teachers more? Do we have students learn respect more, or do we offer more freedom for students to create their own schedules or to do what they want to do? Do we address the economic disparity in the system? If anyone has any more thoughts, we'll leave it open for a second, and then we'll move on here to our deliverables.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Vanne. Blessed morning. How are you?
I am great. And so as you were bringing up home, that's what I was thinking as well. The support that and welcome back.
Yeah.
The support that our parents have to understand what our students are learning is very limited.
Yeah.
And that is where social media can come in. Social media can come in with any of the platforms being utilized to educate our parents on the education that the children are getting. And so when you say, do you kind of like individualize the teaching, you can't always do that in a classroom of 25 to 29 students, pupils, young people. However, a lot of alternative schools, that is what they do.
Yeah.
They have alternative methods for success because, well, you don't look like me, and I don't look like the brother that was just speaking. We're not cookie cut. We're all different, so we learn different, we think different.
Right.
And some people are hands-on. They're hands-on learners. Give it to them, and they can do it. As you mentioned with the football, I think the brother mentioned with the football, you get out there and you throw that ball, you run, and you shout out those moves. For some people, and some people can read the book. You know, they can look at the coach's playbook and say, oh, I see exactly what you mean. I know exactly what I have to do.
Right.
We can use all of the methods to see which one works. As a parent, see which one works for your child. But again, as a parent, you should have that diagram to follow to identify what's going to work for your student, for your child. Yeah. So the system is flawed, and one of the benefits, depending on how it's done, one of the benefits of the federal government not controlling the educational system and it being given to the state is that you can get to a state office much quicker than you can get to a federal office if you want to get involved in the process of change. Because it needs to change. Something's not quite right here, where many other countries, though we're supposed to be the wealthy, I don't see how, but the wealthiest country in the world, we are not the most advanced academics. We are not the most advanced academics. So looking at the model of other countries help us possibly understand what we can do to be more successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. We're looking at the continuum here, right? And there's two sides of the continuum. I hear Yvonne say it also, is that who ultimately should be in control or have the most power over what our children learn? Should it be the home or should it be the federal government in this case? But the state is another good point. Should it be state mandated or should it be more home mandated? Of course, so it's just want to make that sort of continuum, and therein lies the answer somewhere in the middle there. And we're seeing that that's really the whole political spectrum, of debate that comes in with that as well. Very complex stuff. And yes, the home is the foundation of society, and social media is a way that we're able to of course get into the home, whether it's good, bad, or ugly or whatever. But it's true. What I'm doing right now, what we're doing together right now is in the home. So technology has given us that. And in a way, it's closed many doors in our social lives, but it's opened this one as well, where some of us would have never met each other in a lifetime, without otherwise being brought on to a common show like this. So it's true. These are ways that change can occur. And I think we're going to see some tremendous changes in the next couple of years, and mainly because of discussions like this. But there's going to be some huge changes in education on the horizon. And I'm excited because it's time. We need it. We need it. And that continuum of home and state mandated, I don't think it's going to go away, but I think we're going to see a lot more openings in the spectrum there, of what that looks like.
Eric?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, sir.
This is Mr. B.
Go ahead, Mr. B.
Okay. Well, this is another realm. It's all interconnected, but I'm more and more disturbed about the influence of politics and race and gender identity into our libraries. There are people, especially in the suburbs, who are making incursions into the curriculum, and they won't give up. We have young people, 16, 17 years old, appearing at board meetings, and they're flabbergasted that they can't read Huckleberry Finn and other great works because of a small group of parents that are denying their right to read informational, historical context books, such as the one I mentioned. It's hard for me to speak without someone standing in front of me, but that's the basis for my concern.
Thank you.
It's terrible, and these people won't give up. I live in a suburban community, and right now I don't see any such incursion, but in areas within 30 miles of us, there are situations highlighted in the newspaper where children are speaking up. They want to be able to read the great works, especially American historical works.
Well,
and people are trying to intrude on that. Might be a small group, but they have a lot of influence. Too much, in fact. So that's a major concern now and down the road. It's not going to get better.
It's a great point. And how many lessons from history do we learn when we look at what happens when we start banning books?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The dangers that are involved with that. And you making a political reference is right on point with that. It's absolutely a political reference. Everybody, we have to admit the identity politics has changed everything.
Yeah.
It's changed the discussion with everything, and it's right in front of our face, no matter what institution we're talking about. And now, we're talking about the book banning and those battles that are going on. It's right there. It's right there. And I know everyone online on this call probably has something, an experience to talk about.
Sure.
You bring up Huckleberry Finn and some of the other books that were
Grapes of Wrath. Yeah. So many.
Those were stories that were authentic for their time. And we can't learn about history. We can't learn about society in any genuine way, shape, or form if we want to go back and try to put some tint around it or push away some of it because it makes us feel a little uncomfortable, and we think we're going to understand the past. We never will by looking through that tinted glass. So I agree with you. As an educator, banning books, that was the first thing they started to do in 1938 in Germany. That was the very first.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's true.
All the writings of psychoanalysts and whatnot in Germany. So I think you bring up a tremendous point. Tremendous.
Yeah, not everybody is capable or comfortable addressing a school board at a meeting. I understand that. But you can call individual board members and speak one-on-one, speak with intelligence and authority, and, maybe that person will listen or ask them to pass it along to someone else on the board. Reasonable people from prior decisions that they have made, those are the people that perhaps you can address individually and not feel any compunction. So that would be one recommendation. Call your board member, let them know, and talk to your librarian and let him or her know what you're doing. And, you don't have to carry it too far, get beyond your skis to get the point across to the key people.
Well, Mr. B, I appreciate.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yeah, and give me 1 second, Chike. I
no
appreciate
problem.
That. And you're also bringing up something that this younger generation maybe that it doesn't have experience with, and that is using the democratic avenues and channels that are still there in existence for us. So we can access those people, and we can present our views and make a case for things like this. So I think it's important to learn about who you can communicate with and why it's important to speak up if you feel a certain way about this as well.
Thank you. We can move to the gentleman we've heard from already.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks, Mr. Will.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chike.
All right. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get your name. My son is really vibrant this morning. But thank you for your comment. So I just wanted to say that Eric had mentioned earlier on who should be most in control of education. It should be the parents or the federal government. And I think the point that the last speaker just made, to me, kind of hints towards that. So to me, I think one of the challenges with education today, 2025, is that it's not caught up with the times. By no means am I ever necessarily against banning a book, but I also feel as though, these books are still generally widely available. We're just talking about not having them in schools. I'm not saying I've never voted to ban a book. I'm not saying books should be banned. I'm just saying in general, if for me, I have 2 children in the school system or whatnot. If they tell me that my child can't read a book that I think they should read, I would just make them read it at home. you know, and I would just do it that way. And this way is that I'd have more control over, you know, what my child is reading, what they're learning, and you know, and just kind of go from it that way. So that's kind of the approach I would take. And like I said, this is not to discredit anything that was said. And like I said, I've never voted to ban a book. You know, I'm a certified English teacher. I don't teach English right now, but certified English teacher. I've never voted to ban a book. At the same time, you know, I know these conversations go on, and to me, I think the best way to resolve it, the best way I've been able to resolve it, is just say, well, hell, this child's going to read it at home, you know, and we'll discuss it. We'll have our own discussion circles, analysis at home.
You both bring up two excellent points. And Chike, just to reiterate, hey, who has time? And Mr. B, you know I have the value for it, but who has time to read Huck Finn in the context that it was understood and written these days with these young people, as far as all the pressure that's on them to pass these tests and to keep up with the curriculum? It's almost, ideally we would want them to know about some of the tradition and the literary tradition at least, but my goodness, is it relevant in the sense that, you know, it's going to be meaningful for them. At the same time, should it be banned? Of course not, you know. But you both bring up, I think, two excellent points, and I just want to leave it at that.
If you don't mind, Eric, I'd just like to add a little something to what I'm experiencing and noticing a lot is that a lot of parents, and the word "a lot" is a relative phrase, but a lot of parents are homeschooling their children. They're not sending them to the local schools. They're doing homeschooling, and they will include a combination of adjusting their work schedule so that they work at night, or they may have a tutor that will come, or they will be able to get lessons online, but and this way they're more directed, but still keeping in alignment with the mandates and criteria that are established by the states, because the states are the ones that establish the educational criteria.
Yes.
So I'm knowing and have noticed a lot more parents just doing homeschooling in whichever way works best for them.
It's a great point, Doc. And what do we see? We see more homeschooling, and we see more teachers quitting. That's another phenomenon that is just occurring right in front of our faces. And those two facts alone are going to they're going to usher in huge changes in education, whether or not we want them or not. So those are two things that are happening despite any other variables out there. So why are those things happening? Yeah, we're going to continue this dialogue, everybody. You know, we're getting down to fundamental things in our culture and things that are very important. And I think you all brought up some tremendous points today that are very relevant. So I want to validate those and also remind you that we're going to be diving into those topics more as time goes on. This general question is just some things that we can think about, but there's so many realms, and homeschooling is another one of them that's huge. So I want to finish with some deliverables today so that you can take home something from me besides my yakety yak. And I have 5 big tips for you today to prevent infection, viral infection, or the flu, since I just went through it for 7 days. I said, let me give them something because I had these very firm reminders with me all week of things that I should have been doing and I normally do, but I haven't been because I have too many irons in the fire. I'm too busy. I'm too stressed out and living in my head, etc. But I have 5 good ones for you today that I'd like you to take to the bank with you. All right, put them in an envelope. Number 1. Essential oils, have them on hand at home. Big 3 for me are tea tree oil, essence of pine, and eucalyptus. Okay, these are huge. And you could throw peppermint in there as well. But I found tea tree oil to be a gem of an essential oil. I mean, it's just and when they say that we're talking about antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, all that, when an oil has those properties, that means they have a number of strands that are anti properties of certain bacterial viruses or certain bacterial strands that we call bacterial. So they might match. In other words, your system might match better with tea tree than it does with pine when it comes down to the antibacterial that's in each one of those. Why? Because pine has terpenol in it, and terpenol might go better with your DNA and your body's innate knowledge. So see what oils are best for you. But when you talk about getting a terpenol or a good antibacterial, antiviral, tea tree oil is tremendous. Pine is the only tree that survives and thrives throughout the cold winters. So it is very strong essential oil that has that pinene in it and the terpenols that you'll benefit. And that is, you take a nice full breath, put it on the edge of a cotton swab, put it in your nose, take a nice full snort, couple rounds of each one of those, I'd say on a daily basis, especially when you know something's going around. Essential. Number 2, here's a big one. Part B of number 1, if you have a dehumidifier, use it. Part 2, do not be afraid of germs and bacteria. I cannot stress it anymore. I mean, when I go, speaking of schools, when I go even into our own restroom, there's big signs up of these nasty monster bugs with 8 tentacles coming out of their eyeballs. It says, kill all germs, kill the germs. What do you know about germs? Guys, we're made of germs. We are walking germ factories, bacteria. We have 320 trillion viral strands within us alone. Okay, so do not walk around afraid of germs and bacteria. That doesn't mean to not keep your hands clean or to keep things clean around you, but you can't be afraid of people and things that you interact with that have germs on them. We need that interaction to keep our system aware and sharp. So when you start the law of correspondence, right? When you start fearing the germs and you start fearing everything that you touch, you start actually attracting it to you. That's how the universe works, okay? So being afraid of getting sick is a big one, and there's a lot there. Number 3, rest 1 day per week. I mean, God gave us Sunday, right? But whatever day you choose, rest in total on that day. I have not been doing this, and I know that I'm much better when I'm able to get my 1 day of rest where I do very little, just nothing, only the bare essentials of what I have to do. And that means also in my mind as well. Doesn't mean I'm sitting on the couch and, worrying about everything that's going to happen the next day. It's just 1 day of total rest where you have to let go, because that ends up building up in your system. Every 7-day cycle where you should have gotten that day, it puts it in your backpack. And it'll come back to you. Believe me, I just retrieved 7 of my days that I had lost by not resting. Number 4, meditate. Okay, we have to meditate. We have to learn how to meditate. We have to teach ourselves or go to somebody who can teach you. I do a pretty good job of teaching it, of Vipassana style meditation and some other breathing, somatic awareness type meditations, but learn your style or just learn simple awareness of meditation, of meditative state, and incorporate it every day. There's no medicine like the awareness that you can connect between your mind and your body. It's creating that awareness between the mind and the body, which translates into the vagal nerve and to the nervous system, the immune system. That knowledge, turning that knowledge on and allowing the system to become aware of itself is indispensable. When you do that on a daily basis, your immune system is on alert and you're imbalanced and you're present. So you know what's good for you and you know what's not good for you, etc. That meditation, I could go on about that for an hour, but that's number 4. Our final one, number 5, supplement your diet. I've been saying that for a while. That was one of my big ones when I first started studying natural medicine. But we need to supplement our diet preferably with vitamin C and D. For most people, most of us are D deficient and C deficient. Most of us are magnesium deficient. I know I am. I'm probably a couple more minerals deficient, not because we can't access them, but because we're not absorbing them like we used to. To absorb these vitamins and minerals, everybody, we have to be relaxed. We have to be relaxed. The body has to be aware. It's like coming back to education when a child can learn. A child can only learn when they're relaxed, when their world around them is safe, when they can trust people around them and trust their environment. That's the only time somebody can learn. So it's just like our body, our immune system. The only time or our digestive system, the only time that we can actually absorb and create bioavailability in what we're eating or what we're digesting is when we're relaxed, when we're open to receive it. So many of us are eating and drinking on the run. We're popping this supplement on the run and going and thinking and going and worrying and things are just passing right through us that we think we're absorbing. Okay, so remember that one. That's supplement the diet and, of course, get the rest so that you can absorb. Vitamin D, most of us should take between about 5,000 and 10,000 milligrams a day, D3. Okay, and that helps activate the calcium in the body, of course. Vitamin C is another big one you could take up from what I've seen, and I read the studies, I read the science, everybody, I promise you that. 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. I haven't been taking my vitamin C at all before I got sick this last week. I was void of vitamin C. In fact, I was eating meat, and that might be a big reason for my downfall. But I feel much different once I started taking it with meals. So those are the big 5 takeaways. I want to ask, we have about 5 minutes before I wrap things up. I want to ask or throw it out into the crowd. Does anyone have any questions about those 5? And speak now, forever hold your peace. Let me know. Any questions or comments about those? Number 1, we have the essential oils. Number 2, don't be afraid of germs and bacteria. Number 3, rest 1 day a week. Number 4, meditate. And number 5, supplement the diet with vitamins and minerals. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm glad you're still on. We're going to be on in 2 weeks, again, talking about some particular topics in education and wellness. AI in education. We're going to have a guest speaker on the show next week. And we're also going to look at some current amazing trends with research on the immune system, looking at some of the work of Dr. Shiva and talking about his CytoSolve approach and some things that we should know about the immune system that we're not learning at all through our current sources. So that'll be the highlight for next week. And I hope you enjoyed the show today. I did get a GoFundMe campaign up for launching the business. The business I'm going to be launching, like I said, is in support of teachers and students and support of their mental and physical well-being of teachers, of course. It's primarily focused on teachers. But I will say this, everybody, nobody cares more about our young people in this country, no group, than teachers. So this is one of the reasons why what I'm launching, Biosophy Online, is primarily to support teachers. One of the big problems with the crisis in education today that I see and I witness now on a regular basis is our teachers need help. We need help on many levels. And I'm not saying we're the only ones in society, but I will speak for those that I work with and the job that I do. So that's what this GoFundMe and this launch will be about. If you're interested in any of that, let me know. You can always email me I have a new email address, and I'll put it in the chat right here. It is Dr. Eric B. at Biosophy Online. I'd love to hear from you regarding anything having to do with the show, okay? But yeah, I want to launch the company soon, and that'll be the focus. We're going to offer resource hubs for teachers. We're going to offer meditation for teachers. We're going to offer discussion and chat therapy. I want to give special packages for teachers that have been exposed to gun violence, teachers that have been in crises in schools and certain types of situations. So we're going to be doing this for an important part of our population, those that are molding and influencing our young people, right? And so that's what this will be all about. And I would love to hear from any of you at any point throughout the week or the next 2 weeks. Send me an email. There it is, Dr. Eric B. at Biosophy Online. I am a teacher. I am a naturopath. Those are my areas. But I have a lot to learn, and I learn from each one of you. And I'm grateful for each one of you being on the show today. We'll close things out. If anybody has any final comments or suggestions, concerns, expressions, let me know. Love to hear from you.
Eric?
Yes.
Can you please, thank you, great show. Can you please spell out your email for the visually impaired? Can you spell out the email?
Good one.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Avonda. It is Dr. Eric B, ERICB, at Biosophy, which is BIOSOPHY, .online, ONLINE. So it's Dr. Eric B at Biosophy Online. So yeah, I just got that new email up and running. Send me anything, even if you send a nice piece of information, maybe an article about something we were talking about in wellness or education, and we'll get to it or maybe talk about it a little bit. If you're interested in learning more about the project, drop me a line. Well, that's it, everybody. No more bells or whistles or songs. I'm going to try to get more of an interactive show going as far as maybe for some of the visual stuff in the future. But I'm at bare bones right now. Like I said, I just got over the flu. Just kind of woke up this morning for a first Saturday, here in a new life. And I'm happy to be here. I'm blessed. And I want to thank you all again for coming on the show. A much heartfelt hug to each one of you. You all take care and stay blessed. Stay well. I'll leave it on in case anyone has anything to say on the way out.
Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate what you shared today.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that.